video.
Wait. So your cat is in Markiplier's video?
Yeah. So if you go to Markiplier's most viewed video and you look at the second clip, it's my cat.
What the?
I gotta check it out.
What? Your cat is more famous than all of us combined.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 14 of Overinspected, the best speedcubing podcast in the land.
Let's go!
Yeah.
Let's go.
Ooh, shoot, I'm dissing every other speedcubing podcast, but it's okay. You all tie for second place, so you get silver. So anyway, I'm Cary Huang, and I'm here with my co-hosts Michael and Manu.
Hi, Cary.
What's up?
Yeah, and today we're talking about a current event. So as some of you may know, Max Park recently broke the 3x3 average world record with 5.08 seconds, but it's not as simple as just a standard world record because there were some hiccups along the way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Should I just hard transition into it?
Just go for it. And it's okay. So maybe let's set up the story. So you know how like in every like detective movie or whatever they like set the background, set the scene before, right? Let's set the scene. It was a bright and sunny day in San Jose, California. The competition, Basque 29. If you don't know what Basque stands for, Bay Area Speedcubing. Anyway, we're on mission to reach 69, but that'll take us a couple years probably. Anyway, it's Basque 29 p.m. I think it's
okay.
PM, right?
No. We're not. No, that's not our mission. Our mission is to have as many competitions as possible.
Okay, that's true. Yeah, I guess that's true.
Yes.
Anyway, but yeah, I think this was a PM, right? So there was a twin comp happening in San Jose. There was AM and PM, and I think AM had already completed. And the story we were talking about today involves Basque 29 PM.
Yeah.
And at Basque 29 PM, you all know the one and only Mr. Famous Max Park himself. He sits down in his second round average, and he pulls off 4 incredible solves. I actually don't know what the 4 solves are. Maybe I'll edit them on here, or if someone wants to look it up, we can just put them up there. Clearly,
it's like 4554. I don't know what the decimals were though.
Okay, that already sounds insane. 4554 is wild. But yeah, like so he has 4 incredible solves, and he sits down to do the 5th solve. I don't know exactly what he needs for the W. I think he needs like 483 for the WR, which is really hard, right? Like to nowadays that's where we're up to now, right? Where we tell people like, hey, like yeah, you're gonna need a 4 in order to get a WR, which is insane. The WR was recently broken by Timon Kolosinski. I don't know exactly how long ago, but it was like I think it was like 2 months ago or something at this point.
Like a solid couple months, I think.
It was December, so.
It was December?
4 months
No. It was while we were recording the podcast, dude.
No,
because we predicted that Timon was gonna break the WR.
Yeah.
No, I swear it's December. I swear on.
Okay, well,
I don't think so.
I swear on my cat's grave.
Oh.
And it was December 2021.
Oh no. Well, that got really dark.
Oh,
it's okay.
Well.
Okay, no, I shouldn't. No, you can cut that out. No, it's okay.
I'm gonna cut it out.
No, I'm gonna Google it just to make sure my cat stays alive.
Yeah. Okay. In any case, Timon Kolosinski has the world record at the time, 5:09. Absolutely insane, amazing world record by someone who's gonna go down in the history books as one of the cubing greats, as Chai has already predicted. Max sits down for his 5th solve. He needs 4.83 to break the world record. Chai, I'll let you take it from here. Wow.
You're really good at painting a story, painting that canvas. Because all I was going to say was the dude got a 4.8. like honestly, like Max got a 4.8 and the crowd went wild. So you said...
Wait, so let's give the... I'll put the... I think maybe I should ask Max before I put the footage here. But maybe I'll put the footage here if we're allowed to. But as you can see definitely. In the footage here, or you can go check Max's video also, you can see that the crowd goes wild.
Definitely. If you're listening on audio, like just check out our YouTube and then we'll see something. You'll be able to be linked towards that video if you haven't already seen it. But he beat the world record by 0.01. So the 4.8 was almost the maximum amount of time that he needed. Like 4.83 already sounds kind of high. But his fastest solve at that moment was 4:53. So, you know, he really like cut it really close because the solve that he got was counting, right? But all of that was good and dandy. And what happened was not good and dandy. And in fact, it was a nightmare to actually deal with. So he gets the world record. I think people know that he got the world record. I don't even know how people know. It was just kind of like everyone.
Phones,
just, like,
dude.
just
Nowadays,
cheering.
people have phones. They're crunching the numbers
really
ahead of time.
close. It was really close. It's kind of crazy. But it's probably because Max knew what he needed to. That was usually part of it. Yeah, the place went wild. It was a frenzy. 8 seconds later, the timer's off. So this is all sorts of messed up. We see the timer's off. We try to turn it back on, reset. It's at 0. And this is all before we could get a sign and a time. And by some regulations that are listed, a judge must not write down a time by memory. And also, there are regulations, and there are also regulations that do not specify, but some regulations that do specify, which has been identified as a loophole, that the judge can write down a time from the timer, but also there are regulations that just say the judge must write down the time, which does not specify the origin of the time, the display of the timer. So there are some weird, like, linguistics going on there. And there is a loophole here. We had to figure, so here's the first problem. The timer reset. The problem that we had is we needed to figure out if a competitor reset it and if a judge reset it, right? Those are the first two, because like those are clearly covered in those regulations of stuff that we have worked with before, right? The issue was we had to review footage, and initial footage was super scary. The reason why it was super scary in that initial footage, and this is like proven exonerated, so this is really not an issue, but we're really like telling you guys how long it took for our process. We watched that first video, or like first clear video of what happened. We see a person's hand touch the wire and then touch the power button, right? And keep in mind, we're in a loud venue, we can't hear the audio, right? We identified that hand, and it turns out that hand was a delegate. So this made it really scary in terms of like what the ramifications could be. And we had to like filter out more video and figure out more stuff. Now, as we reviewed more video and we took more time to discuss it, it was later determined that that was not where it reset. The way that it reset was the competitor, one of the people in the audience came to cheer for Max, leaned over the display. And that slight nudge on the display interfered with the timer and set it, turned it off. I don't even think it went to 0. I think it just shut off. And when we turned it back on, it reset to 0. So one could call it a malfunction, but under the specifications that I classify it as, I consider it as an interference. And I think it was a malfunction that would not have happened if the equipment was not interfered with. I think anyone who's used stack mats before, like if you touch it the wrong way and you kind of deal with it the wrong way with a physical interference or a static interference, the timers have a good time. So I don't know how you want to define it, but that's how I defined it.
Wait. So going back to the malfunction and interference, like in this case, they sound like very similar. What is an example where they are very, very different? Maybe that way, like so we understand where, like, you know, what the intended difference is.
There are like some examples of what a timer malfunction is, but a classic one is when you stop the timer, it actually doesn't stay at a number. It actually goes to all 8s and turns off. So that's a classic example of the timer, just something is inherently wrong with the timer and we would not use it again. And it's one of the classifications of a timer malfunction. Another one that might not be indicative of something that's working properly is there are timers that will not like start pretty much. Like there are some timers that will basically have the green light on, you lift up, it actually doesn't actually start. And there are like weird situations like that. And then there are situations where the timer is under 0.06. That's just part of the regulations that we would define it as. But, for example, the ones where the timer doesn't start at all, it's a reoccurring issue and we have to address it. This timer up to that moment never had an issue until it was interfered with. And that's the fine line between what I would define the malfunction as. It is a malfunction, but not in a traditional sense.
Mm-hmm. And then what is an example of like an interference?
I think static. I think just in general, when you think about like when stack mats are brought to like places of like drier climates, or you hear about like the Rockies, for example, how the stack mats tend to like perform in a poorer sense of the matter, and they have more random issues that just don't exist elsewhere. That's what I think of. I think of like a shirt rubbing against the wire of the display, potentially a cause for something to just shut off. It was like when you watch it, it doesn't make sense. When you watch it, it doesn't make sense. And we've confirmed that no one was actually touching the timer. It was just a display.
Okay, so when you have an interference, does that mean that, like, it's not a case of the competitor getting an extra, like you just go with the time that it should have said if there wasn't interference?
No, so like that's where we had to interpret more of like how we would decide whether or not that time is trustworthy. This is where we have to go off precedent, right?
Because it could just be like
exactly.
A really faulty
and then
timer.
Part of that precedent was defining whether or not the timer seemed to be fine. That's part of that precedent. And then I think it was. That's just how I was. If I think that a kid did not rub against it, like I think there would have been no issue for the rest of the day for that timer. The reason why is because it didn't reset immediately. It just kind of stopped and chilled there. There was no issue from the beginning to the end. Does that make sense? Like if I play with a stack mat enough times and it's already stopped, something's going to happen to it. But just by nature of it just starting, stopping, everything's good. You see the entire solve. Nothing was wrong with it.
Okay, so let me ask another question. So this is a problem because we've lost the time, right? We have no clue what the time. But surely someone was recording the solve. So why can't we just use that recording?
One of the reasons that we can't use the recording like very plainly, like black and white, like, oh yeah, we'll just trust that, is because in our regulations, we don't have regulations that support recording times from the display. And the reasons is if there is an inherent issue with the timer itself, there could be an issue with the communication between the timer and the display with like a latency in whether or not the time was actually 4.80. Was it a 4.80 on the display, but on the timer it was actually 5.12? That is a potential problem that I think most people would say, yeah, it doesn't sound impossible from the stack map perspective. Stack map, I'm rarely surprised at what could happen at this point.
Which I mean, if you think about it, is like a insane problem. In my opinion, this is a crazy problem that we face. That we have hardware we have hardware made by the same company that I guess is like oddly incompatible to the point where it can't serve its intended purpose, where the display and the timer are synced, where all it's really doing is sending just some signal that's like, hey, the current time is this, update the display. For some reason it can't do that properly without desyncing, which is a very odd issue for it to have, but I guess it is what it is. So
as a slight
no, go ahead, Cary.
I was just gonna say, as a slight side tangent, part of me thinks like, what if some timer manufacturer company made a display that would adjust for timer lag? So because like whenever you see a speed cubing solve, people are always like, oh, they're at PLL at like 4.7, but it's really like 4.9 or something. Like I've thought like in the year 2022, we probably have the technology to fix issues like this.
There are also like, and this reminded me of more display problems. There is a common display problem where you stop the timer, or you attempt to stop the timer, but you can't stop it. Like it just keeps going. Have you guys ever had that before?
I've never seen that.
You start the timer and you attempt to stop it, but because it's connected to a display, it's not stopping anymore. Like you literally can't stop it, which is interesting.
But it kind of sounds like
There's just like long story
Sensor
short, there's a
problem.
whole lot of crap.
Yeah.
$80 displays. By the way, these are like $80 or $90 displays. These things are not cheap. They're very heavy. They take 8 AA batteries. They don't last that long. These stack mats are not cheap either.
Yeah.
Well, the shade. We're throwing shade at speed stacks.
Yeah. No, but like, and this is the other thing. Like the equipment,
true.
it is what it is at the end of the day. Like we have a relationship with
Yeah.
speed stacks that, you know, it's for better or worse, it's here, and I completely understand that. So our problem at the end of the day, and we take full accountability for it. Sorry, I don't know if you hear this in post, but there's a loud airplane. If anyone listening to the audio, I don't think it'll pick up. But anywho, editor in the sky, just mute out me for this entire portion. No, but the issue, one of the issues that we had was we failed to control the crowd. And that's something, you know, I take accountability for. Because, you know, at the end of the day, you do need to get it signed, written down, signed, and you, like, obviously no one wants to, like, just have the entire timer be crowded. It's just, I don't know. I think some people would even just be uncomfortable just for the sake of it. I understand that, and, you know, there's not really a good justification for it. For me, what was happening was I came from the side when I saw it happen. I was waiting to compete. I saw that everyone was recording Max 1.5 meters away, which is, you know, funny to note. But I was competing on the side, and then as soon as I saw him stop the timer, I was waiting for him to finish, because, you know, you always anticipate a reaction, and I walk over. And all it took was 8 seconds. Like, at the end of the day, like, it's 8 seconds. I got there in, like, 2. I don't know. I mean, like, could I have done a better job? Definitely. Were there other delegates there? Definitely. At the end of the day, it was all our faults to control the crowd. And then, like, there was a petty side to me about, like, the whole thing of just, like, well, I don't see anyone else doing it, but, you know, someone's got to do it right. So, yeah, that's just
I mean,
the unfortunate reality of things.
but then again, like, I think that's like, this is like a different issue. It's like, yeah, like maybe like there's some sort of crowd control things that we could implement, but like at the end of the day, you know, a lot of things like are like pretty random, right? Like, for example, like from like an average, you know, you can when someone is on world record alert, right? Where either they've locked in the world record or they need one more solve of like particularly good solve in order to get a world record. So that's something that you can anticipate. But then there are like things like singles, right? So for example, when I'm saying when because it's definitely gonna happen. When the 3x3 world record single gets broken, right? That I mean, it's a huge achievement for not just the cuber who does it, but just for the community as a whole. It's something that we should all like be able to celebrate in, right? More so in this case because Max is one of our friends, right? Like we know Max. We know that, like, you know, he's one of the world's best cubers, if not the best cuber to have ever done it, right? And it's a local comp. I think, as you mentioned, Chai, like at this comp, I don't remember how many people were there, but like there were a lot of people watching this one solve because they know it was a world record solve. Everybody wants to see the solve. I mean, like, I think it like makes sense if you could see the world records, if you could see the solve that cemented the world record average, you would go and see it. Everybody would, right? The only reason you wouldn't is because you were currently competing. So I think
everyone was respectful of the distance too, up until the timer stopped. Like the 1.5 rule, like everyone was like stepping back. Like there was nothing wrong up until he stopped the timer.
Right, because because all of these people also know that, like, hey, if we violate something, this could be a negative effect on the world record, on like the solve that's going to get the world record. So I think that also suggests that there almost certainly is no foul play going on. But
no, definitely no foul play. It's just like, you know, and if I had to reflect upon it, it's just like optimization. I guess, you know, at the end of the day, yeah, I think just ultimately the biggest thing for me to learn is the crowd control. You know, I mean, there's not much I can do now. Like, I'm glad that the result was recognized, but, you know, given our situation, the crowd control is the place where I had the most control of whether or not this would be an issue in the future. So, and I want to control what I can control, you know?
Right, I was just going to say that, like, I I mean, you kind of like briefly talked about this, but I do think that a crowd can build within the time that, like, say you're even doing an official solve, and it just feels like there isn't enough time. Like, you can't be on high alert every second for like 10 hours.
Right.
Yeah, and like, especially thinking that a world record single could come out of nowhere. I mean, not for 3x3 maybe, but for some events like 2x2 single or something, it could come out of nowhere. So it's like,
yeah, I mean, even if you time it, like, let's say for example, like someone just get a really good solve. Honestly, like, there is usually not a person that will like immediately go to sign the time. In fact, even the judge.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
it's a problem actually. Like, I'm not saying we should justify this problem. We should actually address it. But it's just a force of habit that I think this probably illuminates. Like, yeah, I mean, if you watch the video, Max literally stood up, like, made a huge circle, came back, didn't have that much time left, and then the timer reset. Like, so in that situation,
I mean,
if you don't expect anyone to approach, you need to get Max immediately to sign and write. And, you know, these judges are volunteers at the end of the day. Like, you know, it's kind of like this weird thing of like, what do you expect?
Yeah, I think so. One thing which I kind of wanted to talk about is, like, I think after, like, what, like, how are things going to change after this? Like, what are we going to see? So the main thing I'm thinking of is, like, when people are on world record alert, or if like a world record time goes down, right? I think gone are the days, you know, when I remember Felix's world record. I think this was. Actually, I don't remember which comp it was, but it was the world record where he just like instantly stands up and starts cheering, right? Like, you know, like and people come around, start hugging him. It's like everyone knows that the world record has happened. Or, you know, I think those like world record reactions might be gone in the future. I think it might be.
That's kind of sad.
I think it might end up being more like, okay, I got the world record. I need to calm down. I need to sign this piece of paper immediately. Otherwise, you know, celebrate. Something weird is going to happen to this timer, something that I don't want to happen, something that nobody wants to happen. My results is going to be lost forever. And worst case, I'm going to get a provisional solve. And in that provisional solve, if I do worse, then I've literally lost the world record for no reason, even though I have a legitimate solve right in front of me.
Yeah, that's the other thing. And then this is like the third and final component to the entire controversy. Like, it's actually a good segue into the provisional situation. So allow me to paint this picture, because it is a delicate way to explain, but because a lot of people are, here's the thing, a lot of people are butthurt about a provisional extra, and I'm gonna put myself out there that, you know, a decision was made. I'm not saying it was a universal decision. I'm not saying it was the decision in the best interest of everyone, of all the delegates involved, of the competitor, of the judge. But we made a decision and we stand on it. So I'm not outing anyone. You know, it is what it is. We made a decision to not give a provisional extra. And then everyone got really, really upset about it. And I can understand that. It got to a point where the ethics committee had to get involved. Essentially, is what happened. There are people that thought that we were trying to strong arm the WRC to accept the result. And here's why I'm going to explain why that wasn't the case. And I've already said most of this, so this is not something that's like private or not something that I haven't expressed already. So what happened was, if we were to give a provisional extra for that solve, and you had to be in the venue to actually understand it, but first off, and this is a if situation, so we can't really like say this verbatim. First off, the competitor would probably have to accept it. And I'm just telling you right now, like, it was kind of like, it was tough. It was a tough situation. Okay. But secondly, and more importantly, a provisional extra is only used if the original solve was deemed inadequate and considered a DNF. Of extra circumstances beyond your control, so you give another solve. Is that correct? Right? So why would the WRC potentially view it as punishing an innocent competitor? Because it's beyond their control, so they use a provisional extra. Now think about what happens if you use a provisional extra. Like, actually think about it. You could tie the world record, you could beat the world record, or you could get worse than the world record because it was on the 5th solve and because the original time was extremely close to what the world record could have been. So if you thought that the ruling should have been a DNF, you should have stood on that because you're going to have a provisional extra. But if you thought that it would be potentially punishing to the competitor and you give that provisional extra, and they got a worse time, it was still punishment anyways. I don't know if that's clear, but it would have just been interpreted as punishment.
Right. I guess another way to put it is that, like, I think no matter what was going to happen, there was going to be an asterisk on the average. And, like, people are going to say, like, okay, like, this was the 508. Like no matter what was happening, exactly. Everyone is going to remember that this was the 508.
What I'm saying is the WRC, like, if they were worried about punishing a competitor, like, the provisional would have punished them anyways if it was a worse time.
Yeah,
like,
and I think
that's kind of like at the class where, like, that's just how it is. And then think about if the provisional was faster.
Right.
That would have been worse. Dude, think about how pissed some people would be if Max had 6 solves to beat that world record. Max could have gotten a 4.2. You think people would... And then we like all know that 4.2 was real.
If Max Park did the 6th solve and it was, like a 4.2, you think people would get more upset because he had, like, an opportunity to improve?
Well, because if you see that the 4.8 was... If you think that the 4.8 is legit, right? But then the 6th solve was given. And the 6th solve gives you an opportunity to potentially replace that solve. Then it's like, okay, you had 6 solves, and you know the result that you need to improve the world record, which is like then now we have like a 6 solve world record, which would have been also kind of weird. It would have been like,
it's weird because we all know that the 5th solve was real.
Right. Like so for example, like if the judge had never reset the timer, right, to begin with.
Sorry, not the judge. It was an audience member.
No. I mean like let's say like the previous person had competed, and the timer itself was not reset. Like this is something that should definitely be an extra solve. Like the competitor should definitely get an extra solve in this case. At least I think so. Am I right, Delegate?
Yes. Yeah. I know where you're going with this.
Yeah. So let's say like the old time was there. I don't know like there was like someone got a 9 or whatever, and the 9 was there, and then the new competitors does not realize that and begins to solve, and they're like, oh, the timer was never reset. This is an error that is not me. In that case, if you get the 6th solve, then it's like, okay, like clearly like this was a mistake that was done, and this solve was never legit. But in this case,
never a real time. There was never a real time.
Yeah, there was no real time. But in a case like this where we have footage, everything seems fine. The only thing that happens is an inadvertent, unavoidable... Well, I wouldn't say unavoidable, but like there was nothing anyone could do about this. Maybe not fortuitous. Serendipitous, perhaps? No, I think that's a positive connotation.
After
in any
the
case,
fact.
Something that just happens like out of the blue, it happens and then deletes the solve from all of existence. Not to mention also, there is some precedent, I think, of frame counting solves. Using
there
video.
is, but I mean, people are not concerned about that. People they just don't like the provisional. Like they just don't like the decision.
So in any case, like we see a 4.8 happen that looks legit to everybody. Everybody knows that it's legit. I think it would be very hard to find someone who would say that like, yeah, everything, like there was no foul play from the competitor, from the judge, from the delegates, from the audience. Nobody is at fault here. The solve was administered legitimately. The only thing that was not done legitimately was the recording of the time. That was the only step that was mishandled, in quotes. So it is basically as perfect as a legitimate solve as you can get. But then now there's like a 6th solve, which is like, okay, should this 6th solve really have been given when this solve was already fine? There was nothing really wrong with this solve.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think another point to make is that there's no way Max Park could have, I don't know, like colluded with the audience member to make that happen on purpose.
Yeah.
Like I could imagine
it was beyond reasonable doubt.
There's no way.
Yeah. There's no way. Like I guess the only fear would be like if there's some situation where the competitor could say like, oh, if I get a bad time, then I'll somehow get my timer to reset. But like that obviously didn't happen here.
I mean, look, we don't even understand these things. Like the delegates and the WCA, we don't understand these things, right? Like I'm sure people have probably put thousands of hours into figuring out how these things work, and I'm pretty sure people have also tried to figure out how to prevent the timers from desyncing and in general like work better, right? So I think it's kind of weird that some random competitor would suddenly know how all this works and put it all together. I don't know. It seems a little odd to me. But I guess that is not super strong evidence. That's just.
I feel like I should kind of loop back around over at the overarching like problem, but just in general, if I understand that not giving the provisional was not like for most people is not the best decision to make, and I can agree and I can sympathize. Like that's true, but what was done is done. There was just no reason for us to strong arm the WRC because it's okay for it to be a DNF. I'm telling you it's okay to be a DNF because that provisional was going to go one of the few ways if you thought it was a DNF. So there's no reason you should consider whether or not it's punishment of an innocent competitor. Honestly, I think like there would be a situation where maybe I'm speaking for them, but I don't even think if they used that provisional and that provisional was faster, that Max would be very happy about it too.
Yeah,
and that's just probably how I feel about it because it just you don't usually give competitors that extra solve, and it's very rarely done in record solves.
Right.
It's just it happens, right? But at the end of the day, you have to think about it like we only submitted the results as legitimate, and we only submitted the results for WRC review because we think beyond reasonable doubt that this is the 4.80 solve for the 5th solve that confirms the world record. We submit it for WRC for due process, for doing our due diligence and making sure that we're not insane, pretty much. And there's always going to be one person, two persons that's like it's definitely not legitimate, but we ruled that because it was so legitimate that there is no provisional there, and that's how it ended up. And we totally allow and we accept a DNF result if it came. We made it very clear, but we do not think it was a DNF on any circumstance. That's pretty much like at the end of the day, that's just how it happened.
Right.
But I can understand that people are upset about it.
Yeah, I mean, I think as you kind of said, like it's in the history books, and I think what's interesting now is we're kind of left to pick up the pieces, if you will, right? It really sucks because I think the results were just accepted like a couple days ago. Has it been over a week?
I think it's been 2 weeks.
It's almost 2 weeks since the competition has happened, right? And it's really unfortunate because what should have been like a shining moment, right, in the history of this puzzle and this community that we're in is marred by like a weird, like an odd quirk of some oddly dysfunctional hardware and just a lot of like dominoes falling in just the wrong ways.
Yeah, I know.
And now we're here. We're talking about it now. So
it's a shame that we have to like use our words to talk about something that isn't just celebrating Max's achievement.
Right.
I mean, the ruling is done, and really, like, I'm okay like putting this out there because I'm totally aware that they don't even have all the details. In fact, like, I don't know, like, we're recording a podcast, right? Maybe like there's more details that are like not coming off the top of my head, but I can tell you for sure all the important ones are there.
Mm-hmm.
Like everything that we described, and this is how it happened. Damn, dude, comps are hard, honestly.
Yeah, it's weird because like these are not things that like we were built to handle, right? Like no one expects something like this to happen. Like
yeah.
So what do you do? Like it makes sense. I guess it kind of makes sense that there's all this controversy behind it, but like yeah, I don't know. It's just one of those things that you would never expect to actually happen.
Yeah, I feel like the WCA regulations and sort of the concept of like puzzles in general all assume that like the world is going to follow like strict rules, but the world in reality is a very uncertain and probabilistic place. Like fluctuations happen.
Yeah, there was some.
Well put.
Yeah, definitely. I have nothing to add to that.
Yeah, I mean.
Oh yeah.
Good.
Oh, and then one other thing I wanted to think about is like, at some point in the future, this record will get broken. It might be in a month, or it might be in 10 years or something. But I wonder
Please don't let
if
it be 10 years. I just
okay, it's not going to be 10 years.
The
I
more
know
I
that
have
like
to
people
talk about.
like I know people are like striving for a sub 5 average. Like someone's going to get it.
Yeah.
Right? Like whether that's Timon or Max or Maddie or someone else, someone's going to get it. I wonder if there's sort of like more incentive for the record to happen so that like
we can be
don't
rid
have
of this nonsense.
Yeah, like we don't have this like fog of like uncertainty surrounding it. Like not to say that the 5.808 is uncertain. It's like certain now because it's like in the history books, but I definitely know that feeling when I get a PB that feels like too lucky or like had a weird quirk to it. I feel really good when I break it with like a full step solve and I'm like, yes, this is legit now. And just like the complications are now, I don't have to think about them.
Yeah, there's like a
feel like
sense
we
of
should
closure, if you will. It's like, you know,
Yeah.
it felt like there was something uneasy here, but now I'm satisfied. This works.
I mean, we should just end this off on a good note, because at the end of the day, like Cary, you bring up a good point and about like the fogginess of the unclarity, like is it too lucky, stuff like that. Manu, you're talking about like the closure with the results being finally posted and recognized. But at the end of the day, that solve was beyond a shadow of a doubt 4.80.
Yeah.
There was nothing.
Oh yeah.
Nothing was unlucky. Nothing was lucky.
I mean,
Nothing
you
was
all
like,
at home can go watch the footage, and you can stop it as soon as Max gets up from the chair. And at that point, if you think the solve is not legit at this point, then I don't know what to tell you.
It was legit. I mean, it's just, you know, it's just how the what is it called? How the turntables.
How the turntable? Of course,
How
yes.
the turntables.
Yes,
So
yes.
at the
Yeah,
very
I mean-
least, we can feel good. We can feel good about that. It was all legit. At the end of the day.
Yeah, and I also just wanted to like talk about Max's, I guess, just ability, because his fourth solve, like the 4.5, which I guess not as many people are talking about, it's a 4.5 full step. So if you watch it, it's like he just doesn't pause. So I wanted to at least give credit where credit's due.
I'm pretty sure his 4.8 and his 4.88 was full step too, right?
Maybe all 5 solves were full step, but I just wanted to, you know, make sure we remember that, because like I don't want this entire episode to be complications. It's like Max is just really good at turning.
No. Like
and I really feel like his turning speed is faster.
Sorry, go ahead. You should finish.
Oh, I was like, when I watched the footage of this world record, it really feels like his turn speed is like up to 11 compared to seeing him solve even just like 6 months ago or something, which I didn't think you could go past 10 and go to 11. These are metaphorical numbers.
His
but,
TPS
yeah.
is like on like really the only rival is Royhan.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
it. Like
Yeah, I mean,
crazy.
I don't know, like, cause what did you say? It was 4.5544. Like that's
Yeah,
where
so
we are.
3 4s.
That's where we are at this point. The world record average has 3 4s in it. Wow.
Yeah, more 4s than non-4s.
Yeah, 2 counting 4s in the world record average, and I think the counting ones are 4.8 and 4.88, which are like, yeah, I don't know. It's insane that we're at this point where just a couple years ago, like when Lucas Eder broke the sub 5 barrier on the single, like now we're like it's so weird to be like that close to breaking
Well, where the
the sub
average is what
5
the singles were.
average. Yeah, I don't know. It's just insane. It's insane, and it's amazing accomplishment for Max.
Yeah. Amazing achievement
Yeah.
for Max all around. But also, Manu, that wasn't a couple years ago. It was 6.5 years ago.
yeah, I was gonna say
with the
Manu, like, you were
times.
like
It was
so
six
far
and a
off.
half years
It was
ago.
6 years ago. Here's my fun tidbit. I'm not sure how accurate this is, but Max's slowest solve was 5.7. If I'm not mistaken, Felix's last world record average was like 5.53, 5.60.
Yeah, I think it still
That's
is.
scary close.
That's wild.
Like Max's worst single was almost Felix's world record average, something like that. I don't know. Someone's got to fact check me, but it's close. It's got to be close.
That's
Yeah.
insane. That is
Yeah, I mean-
absolutely insane.
5.7, I think a better way to think of it is like the 5.66 world record single from 2011 that Felix had
Oh,
was like
yeah.
so far ahead of everyone else for like years and years. But like 5.7 is from Max, like the worst solve is essentially the same as that.
Yeah.
I mean, there's like one difference though from 2011 to 2022.
Better
The
hardware.
difference is Timon exists.
All right.
So
I think
this
that's true.
healthy rivalry.
That's true.
Healthy
That's
Okay.
true.
rivalry going on.
Who
Oh, so you're
knows
saying,
what
like,
that man
Max
is
and
capable
Timon.
of, man? Timon is
Yeah.
he's on another level.
Dude, Timon
Yeah.
versus Max is so exciting. Like, I think they've separated themselves fully from the rest of the competition.
Interesting.
I don't know. I mean, maybe I'm wrong. Like, I gotta see.
Rayhon can come
I haven't
back.
talked to Maddie, Hiroto, and Abba in a while.
Oh,
Maybe
dude.
he's got something to say.
I wonder,
Roy
is
Hong
Maddie
will be
coming
back.
to North American champs?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, so
I got him.
Ooh.
Yeah.
that'll be fun. That'll be fun to see those three like duke it out. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, North American champs is gonna be quite the event.
Mm. It's lit out here. All
Yeah.
these results. Shout out
Yeah.
to Patrick Ponce, sub 9 OH average.
Yeah,
Juan
Oh, that-
Pablo,
yeah, that happened
sub
too.
26 Mega Mix single.
dude. Maybe we should turn like we should turn maybe like whenever like some news happens, we should turn part of the podcast into like a news segment. Like, hey guys, let's time to catch up on all the spicy cubing news that's happened over the last week.
It's definitely been
I mean-
spicy.
Some of it isn't spicy, or some of it's just sweet.
I mean, yeah, of course. We can call it Cube Alert. How about that?
Cube
alert. We have to come up with something clever, right? Like,
Oh god,
um,
I can't believe I even
shoot.
suggested Cube Alert. What a dumb thing.
well, I mean, it's very straight to the point. It's very cut and dry. But what if it's like, shoot, I need to come up with something clever, like fresh off the timer. That's not any better.
That actually sounds pretty good. Not gonna lie. And we can come up with a jingle too. Like, here, I got it. First take, okay?
Oh, jingle.
Never mind, I can't do it. I had the jingle in my head, but I got like too nervous, and then I couldn't actually reproduce the jingle. I'll have to
There's nothing
record
to be
the-
nervous about.
I'll have to
We can
record the
harmonize.
jingle off stream, and then
Fresh
or
off the
not off
timer.
stream,
Yeah.
but when we're not recording, or maybe
Okay,
maybe we can crowdsource some jingle ideas from the good folks at home. But anyway,
Yeah.
I'm joking. But I mean, it would be interesting. I think it's cool to cover like current events and stuff because it's things that obviously like we're all involved in. Well, we aren't always involved in, but we have a lot of interest in, right? We love to see fellow cubers break world records because I think, like I said earlier, it's not just a huge achievement for the cubers. Like, obviously, right? They've worked their asses off. We're just sitting here like commentating on it, but just for the community as a whole to kind of like to be able to like cheer on these people and to be like, yeah, like, that's amazing, like, you're great, is something that I think is really, really unique and is not present in all communities. I think many communities are not always as wholesome as cubing community. I think it's been, see, even Cary's cat agrees. Hell yeah.
Yeah, she's here to celebrate all the fast cubers as well.
Let's go. Yeah, let's give it up for the
Yeah.
fast
What does Grid
cubers.
have to say?
I think it's kind of interesting that, like, even though we're not that old, we've sort of taken on the role of like the sports commentators who aren't the best at sports in that moment.
Yeah.
Jump up here. Okay. Well,
What does Grid
here's the
have to say?
cat.
She wants
Is that
attention.
good?
Oh, by the way, a couple days ago, I just made a quick video, because I noticed that
Cute.
a video. Okay, my brother recorded a video of my cat like 9 years ago, and then Markiplier,
Mhm.
the gaming YouTuber.
Yeah.
Oh, she's hissing at the other cat now. Markiplier put that video clip in one of his videos called Meow, and now it's his most popular video.
Wait. So
It has-
your cat is in Markiplier's video?
Yeah. So if you go to Markiplier's most viewed video and you look at the second clip, it's my
What?
cat.
What the?
I gotta
Wait,
check it out after
what?
this.
Your cat is
For,
more
like-
famous than all of us combined.
I know. I mean, like, I think it's because she's really cute, but it also only shows up for 1.5 seconds. So
Dude,
I
that's so how they say 15 seconds of fame? This is like 1/10 of
1.5
that.
seconds.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's like not even enough. Well, okay, like in the background you can see my bathroom and like my toothbrush and like my contact lens cases, but like the star of the show is the cat.
Yeah, true. Wow. That's incredible. Well, anyway, I don't know.
Okay, that's very off topic. Okay.
I don't know how we
got
got here, but hell yeah, fuck yeah, let's go cats.
Cat, who doesn't meow as much. She
Yeah.
purrs more.
I think
cat.
we should probably wrap. I don't know. I have nothing else to say.
This is an excellent place to wrap. We can leave the viewers with cats.
we can
I think
leave
all
in,
the
good
I think
conceived
all of
for
the
everyone.
just how okay no I got it. Just how there is not a single person who thought that the 4.8 was fake. There's not a single person who dislikes cats. How about it?
That's
how about
true.
it? Was it as good as Cary segues?
Yeah, it was as good. Even better, if I do say so
don't-
myself.
Oh, better!
I mean, to be
Oh,
fair,
there we
there are people
go!
that don't
There we
like
go.
cats. No, I'm not one of them, but I'm just,
Well, I will say I know a few friends who are allergic to cats, so I think it's hard for them to like cats.
Well, they can like looking at
Oh.
cats.
But
You
they
can
probably
look at
like
them.
cats. Just be allergic to them.
Yeah.
Maybe they're allergic to the way the cats look.
We should probably end it off there.
Okay, yeah.
Goodbye,
I
everybody.
think, yeah. Goodbye, everyone.
Outro time.